Today we will be going through a 5-1 volleyball system with a 3-person serve-receive. Let's go. Beginning with some basics. Teams often divide their side of the court into 6 zones to depict certain areas and divide and conquer when in play. In our demonstration, the net is depicted by the dotted line in the middle. The solid line on either side of the court is the 3-meter line, also called the attack line. This line is the divide between front and back court players in rotation. From here, 2 more imaginary lines divide the court into 6 sections. The back right of the court is Zone 1. Front right is Zone 2. Middle front is Zone 3. Front left is Zone 4. Back left is Zone 5. And finally 6 is middle back. The zones are numbered in a counterclockwise fashion. Now to determine a player's position on the court. Depending on the zone that a player is in, they are bounded by the players adjacent to them. Thus, staying in rotation before the ball is put into play. Player in Zone 1 must stay behind the player in Zone 2, while being on the right of the player in 6. Player in 6 must stay in between the players in 1 and 5 while being behind the player in 3. Player in 5 is to stay to the left of 6 and behind 4. 4 will have to stay in front of 5 and to the left of 3. 3 is bounded in the middle by 4 and 2, while staying in front of 6. And lastly, player in 2 will have to stay to the right of the player in 3 while staying in front of the player in Zone 1. Now to put our specialized players into each position. A 5-1 will mean we have 1 specialized setter and 5 specialized hitters. For our demonstration, the rotation will be depicted by where our setter is on the court. Starting with rotation 1. Across from the setter is our right side, also called the opposite hitter. Following our setter and our right side will be the left sides, also known as the powers. Since there are 2 of them, the closer one to the setter is depicted by P1. Following the powers will be the middles, and similar to the powers, the closer one to the setter is depicted by M1. This order of player placement can be referred as PSM as the power follows the setter. Another method would be to have the middle follow the setter, which we have covered in another video. This order ensures that we have 1 front row and 1 back row player in their specialized positions as we rotate. If ever confused of where you are in rotation, recall who served, know that power follows setter, and players that play the same position are always across from one another to find your solution. After every rally, players will reset back to where they were in rotation to prepare for serve-receive or rotate clockwise if they regain possession of the serve. Rotating through all 6 positions can be seen as follows. Once the ball is served and put into play, the boundaries that restrict the rotation of the players is lifted and players can move freely. Next concept we need to understand before diving into serve-receive is the concept of switching into defense. Whenever the ball goes over the net into the opponent's side, given time, players want to switch into their specialized areas of the court to prepare to defend against the opponent's attacks, and potentially converting defense into efficient offense, such as left sides to the left side of the court, middles in the middle, and right side to the right of the court. For our demonstration, we make some assumptions. Since players are free to move to any part of the court, implementation can vary according to team needs and tactics. Our assumptions will include powers playing in Zone 6 and middles playing Zone 5 in back row. A libero will not be demonstrated here but can be implemented to replace a back row player as needed. Here we depict a serve-receive in rotation 1 without formation. Passing the ball over in 1 contact. Once the ball goes over the net and is still in play, players wanted to switch into their specialized areas of the court. Terms such as switching, going into base or home positions, and initial defensive positions, IDP in short, all mean go into defense. If your team has possession of the serve, once it goes over you immediately switch into defense. Now we are ready to dive into our serve-receive formations. General assumptions made in this demonstration is that we do not want our setter to purposely take the first contact as they would want the second ball. We will always have our powers be a part of the 3-person serve-receive. Right side will not be required to pass the first ball here but can be modified according to team needs. Once again, a libero will not be shown here, but if desired, one can take out a back row player without substitution. Rotation 1. Here, to hide our setter, P1 will step back and pass. Right side and M2 can shift over and prepare for attack. Both powers and M1 will prepare to take the first contact. Once the ball is contacted, the setter can move in front of the power and pursue the ball from one of the passers. If P1 needs to pass, they will do so, then progress into attack preparation. As for the right side, this if the one rotation that they will have the opportunity to attack left side, while the power attacks from the opposite pin. Middle will slot into their track to hit. Once the ball goes over, switch. They will play the ball until the rally is over and a team scores a point. Rotation 6. Having rotated one spot, the setter is now in the middle of the back court. To hide them from the first contact, we will have them push up towards the right side. Together with M2, the right side and setter can shift right to prepare for attack. P2 will be required to pass with M1 and P1. Once the serve is contacted, P2 is obligated to take a pass before progressing into attack along with the other two front row players, and the setter will go to the passed ball. From here we have 3 attack options. Once the ball goes over, switch. Rotation 5. Still in the back row, the setter will push up with M1 towards the net. Restricted my M1, they will have to stay behind but can shift towards the middle of the court without passing P1. Right side is not required to pass and is already in their home position, therefore they can prepare to hit by the attack line. P2 needs to pass, therefore they will slide towards zone 5 without crossing the right-hand side of M1, while staying slightly in front of P1. Once the serve comes in, all players are free to move. Play the ball and slot into attack. Once the ball goes over, switch. Rotation 4. The setter has entered front row. Thus, M1 and P2 are our front row hitters. In order to have P2 pass and effectively hit out of the left side, maintaining their restrictions, all players will shift to the left side of the court. As for the back row, all players will maintain their order and shift to the right of the court. Since right side is not required to pass, they will step back to stay behind P2 in rotation. Once the ball is put into play, the setter will run towards zone 2 while M1 slots in to prepare for attack. P2 is to assist with the receive, then transition outside to hit. Once the ball goes over, switch. Rotation 3. The next 2 rotations are relatively easy as the setter is nearing zone 2 where we would like them to set from. To receive, P1 will simply step back while staying slightly in front of M2. M1 will prepare to hit. Right side can step back towards the baseline or modified accordingly. Once the ball is served, pass if needed, if not, transition into attack. Here we will have two front row options. Once the ball goes over, switch. Rotation 2. This is our final rotation. The setter is in zone 2, therefore does not need to move. We would like P1 to pass, therefore the will slide over to the left while trying to stay slightly in front of P2. P1's position will push M2 to the sideline since they will have to stay to the right of the middle. Once again, right side is not required to pass in our demonstration but can be modified to assist where applicable. Serve goes up, players can move to play the ball or prepare to attack. Our front row options make themselves available. Once the ball goes over, switch. From here we go back into rotation 1 and repeat. Hope you enjoyed this video and learned the foundation to a 5-1 system. Go out and practice with your team. For more videos about other systems to meet your team needs and change up your tactics, check out our other system tutorials. Stay volleying.